I want to talk with you about staying out of the judger pit as we're thinking about your keeping a positive mindset. So I work with small business owners in getting exceptional performance out of their employees, and knowing how to be a great coach goes a long way toward getting exceptional performance from your employees. And so when you're coaching employees, it is critical that you talk to them and give performance feedback, especially around negative things that have happened, that have gone on, that you're trying to correct. So corrective feedback, it's very important that you come from what we call a charge neutral tone of voice, meaning that the judgment, any upset feelings that you have, that needs to be toned down. That should not come across in your voice, because it'll put employees on the defensive. And when you're giving that kind of feedback, it is critical that you get yourself in the right frame of mind. And so I have a really handy tool to help you stay out of the judger pit. And that's what we call it when we get all negative in our mind. We start making assumptions about why the employee did what they did or didn't do what we wanted them to do. And we go into the judger pit in our own mind. And so one of the things that is very helpful is to use a tool that it's called the choice map. And this is actually from the book Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Dr. Marilee Adams. I recommend this book all the time to my clients when we're working on improving their coaching skills and getting better performance from employees. So what I want to share with you is that anytime a situation happens, we automatically have non-conscious questions that go through our head, and typically they're very judgmental questions. So examples of judgmental questions that go through our head are, whose fault is it? Why did they do what they did? What's wrong with them? Why are they so stupid? This is the negative judgmental chatter that runs through our head when we're upset or disappointed about someone's performance or their behavior. And those are all questions. And that's what I mean by we have this automatic reaction. We have these non-conscious questions that run through our heads. And so what we need to do, well, before I share with you what we need to do, let me show you what happens. So you can see here on the choice map, this is a little guy here, and he's faced with two choices. An event has happened, and he can either go down the learner path or he can go down the judger path. When we go down the judger path, we start listening to all those questions in our head, those judgmental questions, and that judger path leads us straight to the judger pit, where we feel bad about ourselves, we feel bad about our leadership, we feel bad about our business, we start to feel hopeless if we can ever turn things around. It's a very negative, distressing place to be. We don't want to go there. So instead, we want to switch lanes, and we want to go, instead of going down the judger path with those non-conscious questions that go through our head, we want to go down the learner path. The learner path is where we can create win-win solutions. And so we have to switch. When we catch ourselves asking those judger questions in our head, we have to intentionally switch lanes. Now, it's our human nature to go negative. If you've been following me in my mindset moments now for a couple months, I've been talking to you about how our brains are naturally wired to go negative and notice what's wrong in our environment. So we have to be very intentional to switch lanes, and paying attention to the questions that we ask ourselves when we're getting frustrated can help us switch lanes. So some learner questions require us to get curious. So when we move into learner mindset and we decide intentionally, I'm going to get curious about this situation, our tone of voice changes, our demeanor changes. The person that we're talking to, the employee, if it's an employee situation, they're going to feel that. They're going to feel the lack of judgment coming across, and that you're just naturally being curious. And so being curious means, I wonder what was going on in that situation for that employee to make that particular choice. I wonder why they did that. And what could we do in this situation? What ideas does the employee have to fix the situation? And what are some opportunities that could come from this situation that's come up? How do we turn this into a win-win-win? So those are just some very basic examples of switching questions that you can start asking yourself when you find yourself going down the judger path.